When you watch videos on YouTube or garden show about grapevines, they can't trim them any different. They can't, usually they don't have a grapevine that hadn't been taken care of like these two have, and maybe some of yours have. They have perfect grapevines. If this was a perfect grapevine, like that one, and you got to the top, you've had all this foliage, you would pick out the two canes, the biggest that you had, with the best looking buds on them, and you'd cut everything off, and you'd tie those to the wires, and you cut off all the 3Ds, dead, diseased, and damaged, anything rubbing each other, and you'd move to the next one. But see, I had to take a little more time with this because this is more of a redneck grapevine that hadn't been taken care of. Now, next year, that one will be really simple because all those canes will not produce anything, but there's only 3 of them. Hopefully, I can get that bottom one to come out a little bit. If that one comes out, I can at least get 3 solid canes, and I might get another one to break out on the trunk. Never know. You can't bet on that. It might not happen. But next year, the new stuff that grows, you save the strongest, healthiest ones near the trunk and cut them off at 10 buds and tie them to the wire and cut everything else off. So really it saves you a lot of work in the long run if you just do it right every year. But since I do too many things, sometimes I don't do them all well. Well, that's all I know for now. I'll answer any questions you got on the comment page. Thanks for watching my channel, and for all you guys that have subbed me since December, and especially since a couple Saturdays ago. It's so many I can't thank you personally, and I'm taking this time to thank you. Hopefully somebody will watch this to the end and hear this. I probably should have put it on at the beginning of the daggone thing. I'll put it on the beginning of my next video adventure. These grapes are still weeping because we had some rain just a couple days ago, but we've had a lot of rain since probably the end of February. So the ground has a lot of moisture in it, and that will stop. But you can see that it is weeped out of there so much that it's run down here. But it will stop. I'm sort of glad that these have gotten out of control and are not really well kept, because if you're watching this video, yours might even look worse than these. The goal is to get these back inside, pretty much inside the poles. I don't mind if I go past them a little bit, but now is the time to start the serious pruning. It's so much easier to do with all the dead branches off of it. And what I need to do now is pick the canes that I want to use with this year's growth on them that have 10 buds on them. Now, the people that grow these things professionally actually weigh the amount of stuff they cut off of them. They bundle it up on the ground and weigh it per vine. And they know how many buds to leave on their plant depending on how much they cut off. There's like a 30-10-10 rule and all. But depending on how much they cut off of it, it tells them how many buds to leave. Whether a fewer than 10 or 10. Since I have leaves growing on these 2 lower branches, I can cut that one off to the right of where the new canes are coming out and pull it over here closer to the wire, and that would give me some grapes this year, possibly, but that's a 2-year-old cane, so that would just give me vegetative foliage. And then next year, what grows off of this, when I could have 10 buds on that and leave those, and that would give me grapes. I can do the same thing with these, but to cut that off, I have to cut it off here, and I am going to lose all of this. And I need, and that's the only choice I have right now. And then I'm going to grow grapes up on the upper part, and I have to pick a cane on each side of the center that has 10 buds on it that's broken, and then I'll use those to grow my grapes. And these are like renewal spurs almost, because see, I can use those you can use what comes out here, and all this would come off after, you know, next year this time you'd cut this whole branch off, which is pretty extensive. And see, that would be your new cane that grew 10 feet this long that will have grapes on it next year. And that means I'm pulling the plant back into the center. I hope this isn't too confusing. You really need to stand back and look at your grapevine and see what you want to do. Now with this one, it's obvious that I'm going to cut that one off, which will take out a lot of this. And I've got to take that one off. So that growth right there, you got to think 2 years ahead now. I'm not getting anything off of this grapevines. I'll get grapes over here, but then next year what am I going to do? So what I'm going to do is probably cut that off. The only tool you'll need to prune your grapes with, just a little pair of these. You can tell I've been using these for a long time. I do keep them sharp. If you need lopping shears, you got more serious problems. But if you're trying to cut off a large branch, like if I had to cut this one off, you'd have to use lopping shears on it. But usually your grapevine's starting to really get out of control when you do that. Now I can bring this plant back to center by this one here being used as a renewal spur for this cane next year. You got to think 2 years in advance. So I could cut all that off at the end of this year and use that one, which would bring everything back to the center. I can cut this one off next year, and that long cane would be my cane from here out. If I get another cane break in there, you would try to leave a renewal spur in here somewhere so that you would cut this off and use that as your renewal spur to keep it toward the center. Renewal spurs are hard to explain to people. It's just like having an insurance policy. If something happened to that cane, you still have another one that you can use. You might lose production this year, but you have production next year. You really have to think in 2-year terms with grapevines. For the right hand side, I've stood here for about 4 minutes and stared at this. I will use this one to grow my grapes. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, plus 3 on the bottom. You generally want to keep like this much space between them. Well, it would help you if I put the camera on. You want it to be about that much far. That's a really good spacing there. You just cut this one off. That's good spacing between those two. And you would just cut that one off. Same thing here. So I could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that would be my 10 for the right side. So this would be cut off, and all of that right there, all the way up here where it's bleeding, see where I told you most of it you're going to cut off, all the way over here to right there where I cut the dead off, won't be here. Back when I do it. I just made my cut there. And to prevent doing a lot of damage, there it is laying down there. See, that was up there. I'd cut this off here. Then I'd cut it off here. Then I would cut it off here. And I would follow it out to the end so that I wouldn't damage something that I might want to stay on here. You could start out here at the end, but it would be really embarrassing if you started cutting this all the way back and found out it wasn't the one that you wanted to cut off. So you just have to cut this in pieces, a little at a time, because it's all twisted up, hooked together. See, you got buds in there that you may or may not want to save, and you don't want to knock them off. And there's my little friendly trash can empty, just so I can show you how much I'm going to cut off this.